ladies doing? Well, before I do that, I want to say what I said when we weren't recording, that putting on a bra is a hate crime right now to me, to my body, because I don't wear them. And two, whenever I put on makeup, I feel like a clown now. So the things I do for Hoops Talk is, theater.
Well, what you feel is wrong. You don't look like a clown.
No, you
Oh,
don't.
thank you.
I've been wearing a bra for weeks. I'm with my 96-year-old grandpa.
Oh, yeah, you can't be letting those things hang loose.
I'm not about to let the dogs off their leashes in front of him. So
yeah, I can understand that. Like, yeah, I feel like decorum for me is slowly slipping further and further into the abyss. So we'll see what happens. I mean, my hair also is different from week to week because what am I gonna do? I can't get it cut.
Mine is down to my ass crack. It's literally, if I could clap my butt cheeks, it would get caught in the middle of it. That's how you start a show.
That's the adult version of Tangled. Okay, the Disney plus XXX.
Make the cheeks clap.
Well, with that said, there's a lot going on. We're super excited about our guest who is going to be on in our next segment for our Women Crush Wednesday. We're super excited to have her on. And, we definitely want to just say, there's a lot going on everywhere. And we hope that, this podcast, we want you to, teach something or give you something, but we also want it hopefully just be a moment where you can take a quick breather, I think who we're going to have on our guests is going to bring a lot of information and great energy. So we're super excited. And then there's some things that we want to call out that's happening in the sports world, which I'm sure everybody knows about. So
these fuckers.
It's never ending. I feel like maybe them being quarantined has made them go even more crazy. But at the same time, it's like, hey, expose yourselves, please. Come out now. Yep. It's a whole new world, and we'd rather know who we're dealing with.
Yes, up front.
Yeah, I don't want any more years to pass without knowing who who these people truly are. So it's good to go. But how is San Francisco? Tell us, Karen.
Oh, heat wave. I had to buckle in and buy an AC unit.
Oh,
I know. You're like, what?
I know. That's unheard of.
I mean, usually our heat waves March, October?
Right.
It was a month from the last one. What's happening here? This is actual seasons?
It's literally turning into like a rock movie, where some sort of sea creature is going to come out or the city's going to be underwater.
Yeah. And, I know we'll probably touch on it much more, but a little proud of SF, for a few years, this too, Liz, SF lost a lot of its people of color, especially the Black community. Yes. And 16,000 people showed up this week, even with smaller ones, but our largest one, and it was led by a 17-year-old girl from a local high school. So
that's awesome.
Yes, Gen Z, show the fuck up. Let's show people how it's done. So
I love it.
I'm proud.
I love it. I love it. And how's Utah? How's it going there?
It's hot. It's very, 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 very hot. That's all I got.
That sounds good. Good. LA is starting its June gloom, which I'm not mad about. We had an earthquake on top of all.
Yeah, on top of everything.
We had a 5.1. And to be quite honest, I was listening to salsa music and I was kind of dancing, while I was working. So when my husband came out and he's like, oh my God. I was like, oh my God, I thought I was just rocking it so hard that I was in the apartment.
I was shaking the room, baby.
I was like, I'm in, look at me. But no, it was an earthquake. So there you go.
Can't take credit.
No, I can't. My hips lied on that one. It was actually an earthquake. With that recap of our collective cities, I want to do our intro and some house cleaning. First off, please subscribe or like and review on Apple Podcasts and or on Spotify, or wherever you enjoy listening to your podcast. Also, we really highly recommend that you download the Good News Radio app. And check it out. You can listen to our show. It goes out at 6:30 p.m. on Wednesdays on the app, and there's a way you can see like archived. And there's a lot of really good shows on our network, so check those out. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube, because that is, popping off with this. And we're going to have some like bonus stuff going up later this month. And so, yeah, you should do that. Also, we're on TikTok, the Hoops Talk podcast. Just so you know, our Hoops Talk intern just got promoted. I guess that's what they're calling it now.
Oh,
He was promoted from 8th grade into high school.
Congrats, Noah! Ooh, it's gonna. Ooh, that's a shift.
I'm sure we're gonna be talking about his shifting on the show. Because they did the procession for him, and then I Zoomed with him and his momager, my sister, and he's playing Fortnite. And I actually talked my sister into potentially extending his bedtime to 1 a.m. I'm a terrible aunt, I know. And then my husband's like, you do realize you don't have to deal with him when he hasn't slept for and he's been playing Fortnite for 10 hours. And I was like, well, that's not my problem.
That's hers.
Yeah, the fun aunt. So congratulations to him, and he's got his classes, and he's doing a lot of sports, and he wants to be in the debate club. So I'm sure me as a proud auntie will be putting that out on our social as well. But that's all I have right now. Karen or Kindle, any other podcast you're on, or anything else you want to update or promote?
Oh yeah, on our Redbubble, Liz, I did see that we do now have Hoops Talk masks.
Oh, okay. So check out our merch. We have masks. They're gonna keep you clean, and you're gonna be repping the Hoops Talk. So dope. Thank you, Karen, for setting that up. I love it. I might go and buy bulk.
Oh yeah, I'm about to just pass it to people. I'm like,
yeah, I think so.
Get your ass out of here.
Yeah, pass it out to the people walking in the peaceful protests, for them to be safe, and, hey, Hoops Talk.
Because what brand isn't already backpacking on this movement, right?
Well, also, you can wear AirPods and listen to the podcast. So just saying, while you're walk and talk. So there's that. Okay, I think we're ready. We're going to bring on our guest. So stay tuned, and she's going to be on next.
All right, here we go.
Hi, Ari. Welcome to the Hoops Talk.
Woo. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, awesome. So glad to have you on. We've been, this is our Women Crush Wednesday segment. And you are someone that has been high on the list to come on to the show. And we've had a few of your colleagues. Some of them spilled a little bit of tea about you. We had Jasmine Baker on here, Kelsey Trainer. So
that's my girls. Those are my girls. We have a group chat and everything.
Nice. That's what they said.
Though. All love, for sure. So one of the reasons why we do this segment is because we love talking to women to highlight and share tips and talk about their career journey. Ari, I know your talent and social for Bleacher Report, House of Highlights, and Highlighter, which is newer, because I know it had been called something else, and then you changed the name. It looks fantastic. And then it's great. I love it. And you're also a model and host based in New York. So you're living in New York right now. So before we go into your career journey, I would love to just talk to you about what your personal journey has been these past couple of weeks with the peaceful protests that are happening, with the, that was sparked by the murder of George Floyd. And also, just how you're feeling, also the pandemic. There's just 2020 has been real.
She came in and she was like, I'm not playing with you girls.
Yeah, no.
I'm about to stress all y'all out, right?
Exactly. So love to hear what your journey has been these past few months.
So even before the murders have occurred, I have been dealing with this pandemic without my family because I'm in New York and they're in North Carolina. So that's been something that I've had to figure out balance with my mental health. while still trying to curate content and putting out things that I would normally prior to the pandemic. But May 10th, that's when I ran for Ahmaud, who
Okay.
got, we all know this story in Georgia. And then we had Brianna, and then we had George, and it was back to back to back. And this is nothing new. Facebook shows you your memories, Instagram shows you your memories. I was fighting for this back in 2012, 2014, 2016, 2017. And it's to the point where, when is it going to stop? How loud do we have to be in order to make a shift, to make a change? Just being in content too, having to refresh your feed often has been trying. I live in an area, well, I moved to Secaucus, New Jersey, and so it's very quiet over here, and you wouldn't even know anything's happening. So it's kind of eerie. Turn on the TV and turn on your social media and see things burning down because of just the injustices that have been brought upon my people for so long. But I don't know how to stay above water at this time. I have had days that are better than other days. I'm fortunate enough that my boss, he's like, take all the time you need. The platform will still be here. But being a Black woman, having to fear for my friends, for myself, for my family, because we never know when our last day is going to be because of the society we live in. It's troubling. And then I have one of my best friends, Amanda Zaidi. She plays in the WNBA.
Yeah.
She's in Sweden marching, and just knowing that they're in Sweden, feeling the pain. It's just really, it's a monumental thing, but it's an eerily monumental thing because the whole world can see the injustices that are going on, but you still have people that will argue with you that all lives matter or this isn't happening and doesn't exist. My favorite one, if you can have a favorite of these horrible comebacks, is, well, police murder white people too. I'm just like, are you not mad about that? Is this not an issue? Like, I understand. Like that. Okay, so join us. I'm confused.
Right.
But that just doesn't make sense, and I've had to pull back a little bit because I've noticed that the people who want to stay in their bubble of ignorance, they have to stay there. You cannot get through to everybody. It's impossible. But I'm really proud of, Black people, allies, for stepping up and like seeing things differently. I know a couple white people who did not realize the magnitude or the importance of Black Lives Matter until now. And I'm just glad they're stepping up now and willing to listen and willing to speak out and go against your families and stand up for what's right. I think that's a beautiful thing, to have a change in mentality once you receive more information about things, once you open up your eyes. So that's been beautiful to see, like how people have been able to be absorbent to everything that's going on. But me personally, I started May 10th running for Mod, and I'm still running. I'm like over 100 miles now because it's still happening. And I didn't realize that's the way I channel like all of my sanity and energy. I just go and run.
Yeah, I saw you tweet asking if there were runs for this type of, for social injustice or, to donate. I'm not sure if you got any responses, but that's an interesting, we should, or I don't know.
Exactly. I ran, because I do these virtual races and I'm a part of like the NYC runs. So we run for coronavirus. We run for fallen soldiers. Why is there no Black Lives Matter run?
Yeah.
Like I'm right now, my run is for Monopoly, and that includes 3 marathons in there. But it's just like, I can literally run a 5K for Black Lives Matter. I can run a 10K, like just light work for me, and I can raise money. I hope somebody out there knows anything that's dealing with Black people and, and paying for our mileage so we can give to charity.
Yeah.
Still looking for it.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that I agree with you. There's so many things that I see that I'm just like, we're going to talk about it later, athletes sometimes coming out with statements that we're just kind of baffled by. But then I want to take it to the next level. I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. Athletes are human, blah, blah, blah. But like, what about the reporting? Look at the top, let's look at the top and see how we can change those views by having more people that look like you, like me, like,
Mhm.
us in those newsrooms, which I know you were also very vocal about Sports Illustrated not having a single Black reporter
Unreal.
reporting about sports.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I know a couple people that freelance, like shoot, like I've been a freelancer for them,
Mhm.
so it's just like, but for them to not have one full time staff member, and I think that I read on Twitter, don't hold me to this, but the Ringer is the same way.
Yes.
So it's just
Mhm.
like
Oh, I'm
I
not
don't
surprised.
understand how in these times, like 2020 times, not just like Black Lives Matter times,
Yeah.
how you don't have one and nobody sees a problem with that. Like a lot of companies have to wake up right now because they're fishing for a post. They're fishing for a post to make themselves look good, right? They
Yeah.
have nobody to turn to. And that's another thing, like this is a fault for a lot of companies. They're trying to release the right statements and they're trying to tap into their Black employees, but their Black employees have no type of senior leadership. They have no type, like that's not their job.
Nope.
They're not running
Mhm.
communications. They're not in the C-suite. So why
Right.
are they being burdened with having to be the voice of the company when nobody was listening beforehand?
Yep.
And that's
Yeah.
something that the companies really have to take a very strong look in the mirror and be like, what are we doing?
Right.
It's not just like a checkbox on diversity and inclusion. You should really have, when you have one person of color, even if you have just one,
Mhm.
they won't feel empowered to speak up because they're just trying to survive in a space where they're the token. And
Yep.
tokenism, that's really hard. It's really
Yeah.
hard because you don't want to say the wrong thing because then they can just replace you with another Black. It's just
Mhm.
it's crazy like that. And so when you have multiple people that look like you in a space, you're gonna feel more encouraged and empowered to speak up.
Yeah.
But that's not the case with a lot of these companies. And you can tell which ones have multiple people of color, Black people in higher leadership because you can just tell.
Yeah.
You can just tell.
Yeah.
And I'll go on record saying this, like I'm really disappointed with ESPN's statement. It
Mm.
was very blanketed and didn't address much of anything.
Right.
So that kind of hurts too because I'm just like I know people that have gone in and out of that office, those offices, that company, and it's just y'all have too many. Y'all are supposed to be the worldwide leader of sports, but you can't even acknowledge the fact that police brutality happens. You can't even acknowledge the fact that Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
They matter. And so for you to just say we stand for all and the equity of everybody, it just doesn't make sense. And another thing, sorry.
Keep going.
Keep rolling.
I just want to say I'm so glad I got out of Madison Square Garden in time because we always knew how James Dolan was.
Oh, trash.
What a
Oh
scumbag.
my
Dumpster trash.
So when I read that, and then I think of my old teammates who are still there, and
Yeah.
I'm like, goodness, you have to. I mean, we already knew that they didn't care about us. We knew that, but just that statement alone, I was just like, oh wow, you're not
Yeah.
qualified to
Gross.
have a stance. I'm confused. You literally have billions. You're. I mean, your voice is very powerful, and you're just not using it in the right way. And I just think that people, and I don't even think that's a place of fear because to get that
No.
much wealth, you don't move with fear. You just don't want to. You don't want to. Really.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, that's their stance right there.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's really just, I mean, it's just disappointing because that organization, my husband's a New York Knicks fan,
Mhm.
and he's from New Jersey, and he, like, what do you do with that kind of information? Like you've already heartbroken with so many things around that organization, and then that comes out, and I feel for, like, to your point, the players, the people that have to work in that organization, and then also the fans, especially like a place like New York. I mean, everywhere has a lot of melting pot, but that is known as the melting pot. So I feel like the NBA maybe, I don't know, maybe they need to look into I don't know, but I just
I mean,
know, like,
the NBA should have been looked into him.
Yeah.
Like,
Right,
he's been a
exactly.
problem.
Long
I
time.
remember the Charles Oakley thing happened when I was still cheering it. Like, there's a lot that's wrong. There's a lot that's wrong that needs to be investigated.
yeah. It's like, why do we have to wait till a tape comes out? Why do we have to wait for video? Why? It's like, it's known. You don't have to wait for that. Just do something. So
Exactly.
Well, shifting gears a little bit, still relevant. we would love to hear your career journey, how you came up, and just, I think that will bring light to other people that may be listening that say, hey, you know what, how do I get into sports, or how do I get into like what you're doing, talent and social. You also host, you're a model. How does Ari career journey, how does that happen? Tell us.
It's funny because my dad, he's a mass comm professor, so I think that and my mom's an English major. Like she has an English degree. My dad, communication. Well, he was pre-med dude. Anyway, but he teaches mass comm at North Carolina Central University. So I grew up around communications, and then all my best friends played basketball growing up. When I was in high school, I was a cheerleader and a volleyball player, but I was a girls basketball manager. Even in elementary school, we would take field trips to NC State women's basketball games. So all this like basketball is in my blood, and writing and communication was in my blood. Right. And I was just born tall and lanky. So modeling, that was in my blood. Some things you're just like born to do, right? Sure. So when I got to college, I was on a teaching fellow scholarship. So I went to UNC Charlotte my first year and a half, and I was like, I cannot teach. But then my Facebook status when I was 18, I was like, I want a photographer for Christmas. And my friend was like, talk to my boyfriend, Kevin, he's a booker. That's how I got my first contract modeling. And then they placed me in New York. And so being distracted, going from teaching, like the teaching career in college to flying to New York and modeling, I was like, I just need a model. So I dropped out of UNC Charlotte and went to New York, modeled a little bit, like about a year. My mom was like, you better drop back in school. So my dream was to cheer at NC State. I cheered at NC State. I finished there, and somewhere along the way, got an English degree from Oxford too. And then
that's impressive.
Just gonna
whoa, that's very impressive. I know.
Whoa. Shout out Somerville College at Oxford. So,
that's a big deal. That's big.
Yeah. My history professor was obsessed with Margaret Thatcher. Hilarious. Anyway, they teach really, really well over there. It's like everything sticks with you. I think that's an experience people need to have, like an education from overseas. Whether that's like a dual degree program, whether that's study abroad, whether that's you just going for your master's, I heavily suggest learning in a different way. Anyway, back to my path. I finished school and I moved up to New York full time, and I was modeling. And then one of my friends, Claudia, was like, come to Liberty, Connecticut Sun game with me. And then I saw that the Liberty had a cheerleading squad, Torch Patrol. They had the cute seafoam dresses, and I was like, I can cheer. So I emailed the coach, and I was like, hey, I really want to be on Torch Patrol. She's like, I think you should try Knicks. And I was like, that's not what I asked you. I didn't ask you that. Like, I've never been interested in men's basketball. Men's basketball's never been my thing. So I did a full season with the Knicks before I got to do Torch Patrol. But once you're in the MSG bubble for entertainment, it's EP. You do Knicks, Rangers, and Liberty. And so I learned all sports there. Like I learned hockey. Like the intern got hit with a puck a couple times. I was like, this is not for me. But that's basically how my professional entertainment career, came about. My job's still modeling. So that happened. But through MSG, I met a lot of people and, networked. And then a lot of my friends, the ones I grew up with, played in the WNBA, and I noticed that there was no media covering them. I was like, why not? This is about like 2015. So I was like, why not? And so I would go to their away team hotel room, which was like at the Renaissance, which is right across the street from MSG, and I would put my phone up and just record interviews with them and then post them.
Cool.
And then fast forward, Howard Megdal, not fast forward that long, it was like 2 weeks. Howard Megdal was like, do you want a job? And back then we were called Summit Hoops. And so I started writing to get my credibility up, and then met a lot of people who's there. Back then it wasn't a popular thing to cover. So it was only like 5 of us max covering the WNBA.
Wow.
So we got access to everything. Like I remember Seattle, all I saw was, it was me, Erica, Howard, Doug, and Michelle. And we were just chilling, like chilling. I mean, you have access. So if there's no traffic, there's going to be access. And so just building on that and staying like steady in my mission, I kept with it because that's what I'm genuinely passionate about. Like the WNBA isn't a stepping stone for me. That's like literally where I want to be. I never had any interest in going to the NBA. Like that's
Yeah.
I had to see 44 games a season in the home court,
Yeah.
and I still wasn't interested in it. That's how I know that's not my lane. Like, you know, that's
Right.
not my
Good
lane.
point. Good point.
So I would say it with that, and then from my Twitter, Bleacher Report found me, and then Doug Bernstein was like, "Do you want to start up our women's platform?" And I was like, "I don't know about a job, like I don't know," but I ended up at Bleacher Report. They let me start up the women's platform. They had already named it, and I was like, "We gotta get this out. The Jayla doesn't make sense." So I worked really hard to change it to Highlighter, and the rest was a wrap.
I love
Love it.
highlighter. I actually love that because it's highlight her.
Yeah.
So clever. I love it.
And then it like goes in, but technically I'm a subsidiary of House of Highlights, and so it's brand affiliated.
Sure.
Bleacher Report owns us all. Well, actually, Warner Media owns us all, but
Right.
So it just brand affiliated. You know, stylistically it will go well, and then it's just highlighting women. So like, why not?
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like such a dream job to like where you're highlighting women's sports in a bigger, organization as well.
It is. It's just people see it and they don't realize how much work goes into that, because I was paying maybe $5,000 a year when I didn't have $5,000 to pay, covering women's sports, and I think God rewarded me from there.
Yeah.
Like I worked really, really hard, and I found my lane of things, and I was doing it in a unique way. That's another thing. Like people have to realize you have to do it in such a way that it can't be duplicated, so that a bigger company is going to be like, we need to have her, instead of, oh, we'll take her. So yeah.
No, I think the branding and everything, how you reshaped it is so interesting, and then I started following you. I think we all kind of started following you on Twitter. That's really where, your voice, because you are, the things you say, it's so resonate so much, it does. And it's very like, no joke. Like we all work in social. So we understand that fine line of like, I was just talking to a client the other day and trying to workshop, like, how do you say things in today's climate, without, just being aware. And so we understand like that there's what you say on your personal channel and then how you represent, but you seem so seamless. Like, how do you keep that seamless voice? Is it something where you've pushed on leadership to say like, hey, this needs to happen? Or you're just like, you know what, I'm going to do what I need to do, period.
So I've always been just myself, always. I've never been filtered, and I know my mouth has gotten me in a lot of trouble over the years, but like, even in elementary
trouble.
school, my teachers would be like, she got a mouth on her, but as long as you are morally sound in everything, and as long as you have the intellectual and educational backing to what you're saying, I don't see how anybody can check you on that. As far as like my social being tactful for a company, because I was a teaching fellow, we learned back in something, that hey, you need to make sure your social isn't like anything that people can put against you. Like, I'm not going to be over here, partying hard on, like, that's not something I need to show. That's not for everybody. So I learned that when I was 18. But as far as like my voice, I've never been one to be silenced. I've always been audacious. That's always been my thing. Like, I've always stood for what I believed in, and like double down on it.
Right.
So nobody can hold anything against me ever, because I said what I said. I did what I did. It's like, I don't get embarrassed. I don't get like, I did what I did. It is what it is. And I always have a reason for talk. Like I talk with purpose, or at least I like to think so. So there's no empty tweets where I'm just like,
right.
The sky is red today. Like, what?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So basically, I don't worry about filtering. I was never one of those girls who like reread her text messages just to make sure it was worded properly. I just say what I say, and I'm done with it.
Right. Yeah, because I did. It was shock. I felt it, the heaviness of you not being on the platform when Blackout Tuesday happened, and you had, the day before you said, if they can't breathe, I don't, something of that nature. Like, I'm not going to talk if they can't breathe. And to me, that just revealed also like this, to your point earlier when you're talking about your mental health, and the fact you're always on social because you're out of school and that's your job, just sometimes you really need to take that step back.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that me and Chloe, who runs Overtime Women's Basketball, we're Black women, right? A lot of platforms, I'm not going to say have a luxury of being able to maintain during this time because they're not run by Black people. But it's just like I couldn't deal with it. I couldn't deal I've been trying to be the voice. Like I have my agent over here saying the HuffPost wants to cover your voice, and I'm just like, here, take these words and go. But I needed time to myself because if you're always on social, you keep reliving that moment, you keep reliving the images, and it's just like different people have different levels of advocacy. Different people can handle different things. Like the threshold is, night and day. But like I said, me and Chloe have a unique position. We're Black women running these brands. You don't have that in other sports platforms. So we're really feeling it. Like I know she's marching while posting. I'm over here trying to stay afloat. Like yesterday, Camilla, she's the cutest little 9-year-old, interviewed me.
Yeah, I saw that.
I was trying to keep it together because she was like, well, what can I, like, how can I be okay? And I just didn't know what to tell her. I was like, no, we have to get better for your generation. But I know I'll feel that differently than somebody else who's not Black that has to explain it. Because she's like, what do I do like with my daddy? And I'm just like, this is miserable. Like I'm miserable. So I had to make sure that the cutest thing ever. I had to make sure that my mental health was in straight, because if not, then who's gonna run the platform if I go off the deep end?
Right.
It's what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
No, well, I appreciate you still, trying to run that platform because we just from the social logistics level understand like that scheduling and just everything, to your point, like having to see a lot of that stuff over and over and over again, especially for yourself. So we really appreciate seeing, and when you came back, I mean I just felt the joy when you came back, and I know it's because I was like, okay, she's breathing a little bit right now, just able to get out there. You had to post it, so we can definitely, your voice, I will say that your voice is felt when it's there and when it's not, so we want to make sure.
I'm trying to stay strong for everybody. I'm trying.
I know. We totally appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to us today and share your journey and how you've been feeling during these last few weeks. Before we say goodbye, one last thing. We always like to have our guests give a tip or some advice for anybody coming up that maybe can help them as they're trying to navigate this world, this career, this whole whole show that we're in, and we're hoping maybe you have something to share.
Of course, I think that you should just do things your way, and the right people will align with you. So I see a lot of younger people, even older people, trying to maneuver in the sport, especially sports journalism world, in a filtered way where they think that, hey, this will align with this company, so this company will see me. No, do things your way. And that way, when you do get hired, because we're going to speak that, you won't have to change a thing about what you do. You will be able to maintain it. If your voice is strong enough on its own, then you'll be able to maintain it in a workplace. Also, you have everything that you need to be a bomb reporter on your own too. You have your phone, you have social media, you have, there are free apps to edit. Learn how to do it all. Be a one-woman show too. Know how to shoot, edit, produce, write. Writing is really essential. Know how to speak. You have to just be really well-rounded, because everybody is now. Everybody knows how to capture moments, post them, and write a caption. You gotta just be better. You gotta be better than everybody. So do it your way. Know that you have all the tools, and just be better. Genuine relationships also help. A lot of times I know I can get an interview because I have a relationship with a player that, another reporter won't. So just develop those genuine relationships, and they can tell the real from the non-real.
Yeah.
So just make sure you're not just fishing for information. Really, do your job on them. Like, just know that they're human too,
Right.
and humans relate to other humans, and they're able to connect with other humans when there are genuine intentions behind it. So just all that in one. There's my advice.
That's great advice.
That's great advice. That is great advice. Again, thank you so much for your time. We are sending energy to you, and we love everything that you're putting out there. And anything you ever need from us, please let us know. There's 3 of us here, so one of us, we got what, 2 hands?
We have 2 here.
Hi, baby.
He's been sitting the whole time.
Baby.
This is Tiger.
Oh, he's just been
He's
chilling
sleepy.
the whole time.
Yeah, he's 10, so he doesn't do much. He just
Oh yeah, he's in the golden year. He can just chill out.
just chill.
Amazing. Thank you, Ari, so much.
Thank you
we really,
so much.
again,
Yes,
we
thank you.
appreciate it, and we please come back anytime. Hit us up. We'll just keep watching. Everybody follow you. Where should everybody follow you, or what should we be following?
Okay, so if you want to hear my personal opinions on everything, I'm Ari Ivory. Ari Ivory on every social platform. I like uniformity and that whole thing. But if you want my work, it's Highlight Her on Instagram, and we got Twitter, but we're not gonna deal with that until Instagram is next. So it's Ari Ivory and Highlight Her.
Excellent. Thank you. Everybody follow Ari. She's amazing. Highlight Her. Loving it. They're crushing it on Instagram. And make yourself happy. Go and do all of those things. Thank you, Ari.
Thanks, Ari.
We appreciate you. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. And we are back. How amazing was our Woman Crush Wednesday?
So
Ari.
I love it. I love
so
her.
good.
My heart's so heavy.
I know. Well, she's just like, I'm so glad we got to speak with her. And please go and check out Highlight Her. Like, seriously, it's one of my favorite Instagram handles. And go follow her, because she's saying some things that I think are really powerful. And I did miss her when she was not on. Yeah, very important. Shifting gears as we do into the
opposite side of the spectrum.
Sports in the age of coronavirus and people that need to not maybe be on social. One of the things we want to talk about here, and we've talked about before we started recording, was Drew Brees. And I know by the time this episode airs, we're going to be like deep into probably another 6 or 7 apologies that he's going to be making. But as of today, I believe he has like 4 going. To just backtrack on the story, Drew Brees was interviewed or made an appearance on Yahoo Finance, and I thought they were going to talk about Jimmy John's, but instead they decided to talk about systemic racism. So there. And to be fair, Kendall, you actually had the exact question. What was it that was asked?
Well, I don't know it verbatim, but it was a pretty open-ended question that he could have taken in any direction, and he chose the direction that he did.
Which was when asked about, like, the conversation was around the current peaceful protests and how the NFL's kind of dealing with that, and specifically the second reporter was talking about in light of what's happening and moving forward as the NFL goes with Colin Kaepernick kneeling. Is that something that you see moving forward? And Drew Brees, he went hot. He came in hot and was like, I will never agree with anybody disrespecting the flag.
Right off the bat.
Like, he leaned in, his face all up in that Zoom, screen, and went on to talk about like how, his grandfather and, other people in his family had served, and that, the disrespect, and kind of left it at that, because I went to see if there was more on this interview. And when I went to the link, I didn't find anything. I kind of think it just ended that way. So unless I couldn't find the rest of the interview, it pretty much left it with like his statements. As soon as the statement came out, I don't want to call it backlash because I don't think it's backlash. I think it's like reality. Like, dude, so tone deaf actually. And on top of it, who the fuck, who are you that you are working at your colleagues, your teammates, and not thinking, that you are saying something that could be hurtful.
Right.
You just went hot and heavy into this, like disrespecting the flag, which one shows that you're not understanding what Colin Kaepernick was kneeling to begin with. Had nothing to do with the flag disrespecting the military.
Right.
It was about making a stance against police brutality,
Right.
And he did this about 4 years ago. So within the 4 years that Colin kneeled to when you made
nothing.
that, you've learned nothing.
Yeah. And it just shows that shitty excuse people make when they get accused or anything. Oh, but I have black friends.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Which I think it was Jamil Hill who said, it just goes to show you the proximity of who you work with. If they're black doesn't mean that you're going to be empathetic or try to understand.
Or a stock photo with a white hand and a black hand.
Right.
That was one of his apologies, but
I just don't understand how people can care more about this abstract symbol than people's lives or like the realities of what is actually happening in the world. You know what I mean? Like, like the flag could mean a majority of different things, and it can mean something different to every single person. But why do you care more about a piece of cloth than you do about somebody's life?
Exactly.
And on top of that, they always fall back on this. Well, I had a grandfather in the military. First of all, can we stop hiding behind our relatives' military experience?
Yes, please.
You didn't go to war. You didn't sign up. Like, first of all, let's do that. And second, there were plenty of black soldiers.
Yes.
That have fought in every single war for
front lines, other soldiers of color.
Fought for all of the same freedoms that your white grandparents did.
Yeah.
And when they came back, they weren't celebrated.
No,
whatsoever.
not at all.
They were treated like shit. And that's the reason why he's kneeling during the national anthem, which, by the way, he got advice on how to do it from a member of the military.
A Marine.
Who told him, you know what? I don't like it. I don't appreciate when you sit, but if you were to kneel, because when you when you pray, you kneel. When you do, when we are at the graves of our fallen soldiers, we kneel at their graves. He's like, so I would appreciate it if you did it that way. So, like, knock it off with all this like military shit. Like, it's just going completely over these people's heads. Because they just want to stay, like Ari said earlier, they want to stay in their ignorant bubble.
Yeah. And their ignorant bubble, if they benefit from their privilege, why would they let it go?
Yeah, that was one of the things. Okay, so I ended up watching the TNT and the NBA TNT that they did. They did an hour with the TNT crew. And one of the things that was coming up was like, that is the perfect example of white privilege. How he expressed himself, and not wanting to take in the full context of what was happening in the world around him, what's happening to the community, not only his teammates, right? But what about New Orleans? He plays in New Orleans.
Hello.
A heavily black city.
That, like, literally New Orleans can be considered an epicenter of culture from America.
Oh,
yeah.
Easily music and food and languages and and I just don't understand. Like, I don't understand at all how you could be sitting in that epicenter, NFL, New Orleans, and say what you said in such like like he came at it. Like, there was no like moment of pause or consideration to what he said. He went like in the face. Listen here, no disrespecting the flag.
That's why every apology that he's come out with means absolutely nothing to me.
Nothing.
Agreed.
Because he did come at it so just like defiantly. Like, I like right off the bat, I don't agree with anything that disrespects the flag. Like, like you said, no pause whatsoever. So any apology that is coming out now, I don't care how many teammates he's talked to, and that's perfectly fine. He can talk to them all and say that he's learning. And you know what? We are all entitled to be learning and changing during this time. And all that. But for you to be Drew Brees and have the kind of position that you have and come out so defiantly with, you know, the disrespect towards the flag, and then within 12 hours, because
I know. Exactly.
people are chanting "fuck Drew Brees" in the streets of New Orleans and Jersey, all of a sudden you're
I'm so sorry.
Like, I don't buy it.
That's what's also so crazy too. It's like we said, 4 years pass and you still have that opinion. 4 hours passed and you're saying you're sorry for having that opinion.
Right.
So I feel like it's very, you know, it's all about image,
right,
and backlash. And, you know, that's the other thing too that I realized, like, he's putting the responsibility back on the Black community again with that, you know, with his apologies, because he's also saying things like, you know, when you did hear some of his teammates talking, they were like, I acknowledge the feelings that you might have for the flag. Okay, I acknowledge that. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm saying think about what you're talking, what the real message is of why the kneeling happened. It wasn't about that. So they're not even just like, they're actually trying they're actually trying to be, you know, they're thinking about it. Like they're actually thinking about his feelings.
Yeah. Empathizing for his love of a piece of cloth.
Right. When they shouldn't have to be doing that.
No,
they're already going through enough right now.
Yeah.
And the last thing they need to do is to educate this man who has played football with, you know, Black teammates since he was probably 12 years old and has been in locker rooms with them. And, you know, the whole thing 4 years ago, like just all of it is such garbage. And then for like part of his apologies also made him seem like he needs to come in and be the white savior.
Like
that first one.
I need to be a leader for the Black community. No, you don't.
No, you know. Yeah. With the one with the stock image with the two hands clasping that he got at Shutterstock and had them pay for the logo to be taken off. Like that. It's like, it's like, you're still not getting it. So then he does the video, right? So you have the
face right here.
Face right here again.
What's the TLDR on that?
So then, so you have that. And then his third apology was to the president. Dear President, you know, and it's just like, it's not legitimate, because I just don't think that within, you know, the 4 years that you had to understand this, that now it's taking you like the 4 days for you to, and you know, a lot of people are like on TNT, Charles Barkley and Shaq both said, hey, you know what? He's human. You make mistakes. Twitter is not the end all be all judgment. We've all been there and this and that. And even they're kind of making these apologies for him and saying like, hey, and they know him. So you know what? Yes, I guess I will give them that they know them, that he's talked to them, and you know, that they have a personal connection. Kenny, on the other hand, was like, I was totally offended. I haven't actually seen his apology, but you know, and I think that, you know, I'm just tired of having these guys think that they come out and say whatever they want. And, you know, I will go even further, because I have a bone to pick with the fact that Yahoo Finance had this interview with two other white guys. And yes, you know what? They may have not, I don't know what they had planned. I don't know what was in their heart or in their head when they decided that they were going to interview Drew Brees. I don't know what Yahoo Finance even thought that why they would be interviewing a sports person. So let's just throw it out there. And I think a lot of people are like, question mark, why is this coming out of Yahoo Finance? Two, that if the conversation was going to turn into talking about Colin Kaepernick or the systemic injustice or the peaceful protesting or the murder of George Floyd, why was there not a Black reporter or a Black journalist also in that conversation so that it could be a conversation, so it could be educational, so there could be a dialogue, so maybe Drew Brees would have learned something. You know, and then he wouldn't have 4 or 5 apologies down the line where he's like trying to like backtrack what he really feels in his heart. what he really feels in his heart. And so you got to go, like, I understand, like, a lot of athletes say things that seem like off the cuff and maybe not, thoughtful, right? But when do we start looking at the positions in the media with the lack of Black people on there in the newsrooms? Like we were talking about Sports Illustrated not having a single Black person in their newsroom, and they cover sports.
Right.
Now it's coming out. The Ringer doesn't have anybody Black on their report, and I will bet you Yahoo Finance right now is patting themselves on the back for this, like, gotcha headline.
For their reach and their
for the
mentions.
clicks that they got, as opposed to where's the follow-up to say, like, hey, you know what, we're going to bring him back because, now is the time where maybe we can have that discussion, because they're going to have to look at their own newsroom and see how many people of color, see how many Black reporters they have, instead of just putting out that fucking black square and telling me Black Lives Matter, which wasn't even what that black square was about.
No,
can we just quickly talk about the black square, because we were talking about it?
Yeah. But can we just real quick, just want to add to that, Liz, like I agree with you, more reporters of color, Black reporters for sure, but I also don't feel like a Black reporter needs to educate Drew Brees. He's been around Black people for how long in his life? Supposed friends and colleagues. That's where you need to start listening in general. Like, you can't just tokenize them and say, oh, I'm good because I play with them and whatever, and on the surface level we know each other, but if you don't know the struggles of your friends, then you're not a friend.
That's why Malcolm Jenkins' video and his response was so emotional.
Yeah.
I know he had the first one that went viral with him telling him to
he took it down. He took it down.
Yeah, which he took off, but the next one was just as good. And there was a quote in that said, like, as soon as I walk off this field and I take my helmet off, I'm a Black man walking around America.
Exactly.
And I've told you my experiences, and I've told you the experiences of my community, and your response is to tell me that kneeling and doing this protest, this isn't the right place and this isn't the right time. Like, then where am I supposed to do it? Because we tried to do it peacefully, right? And that went right over people's heads. We're still doing it peacefully, and some people are coming in and instigating shit to make it into what it is. Yeah. But like, and then that's not the right way. So like, what is the right way? White savior Drew Brees for us.
Yeah. And to back on that, Kendall. So like, let's say cancer awareness or cancer rights. So football isn't the right place to talk about it because it's unassociated, but the people on your team or their family members are dealing with cancer. And then also, like, you can't see cancer. You can't see racism happening. So it's not happening. Like, there's all these dumbass false arguments that are just so irritating.
Yeah.
And like, I don't give it. It's just like my whole thing with Jessica Alba. Baby, you live in LA. You are Mexican descent. You have resources, and yet you don't know Spanish? Nah, fuck you. And fuck everyone else.
I've said this since day one. Drew Brees is a fucking phony baloney.
Ooh.
I haven't liked him. He grew up in the Austin area. He went to a very, very white school, very rich school that led to this obviously kind of mindset.
And you're from Austin, so let everyone know.
I'm from Austin.
Skin in the game.
He went to Westlake High School, which is a very rich, very white high school. And he has 4 kids, 3 are sons, 1 is a daughter. And if you listen to anything, you would never know he even has a daughter.
Damn.
He takes his sons everywhere. You would never know he even has a daughter. That's something Liz Loza from Yahoo Fantasy and I have talked about many times. Like, where's your fucking daughter, Drew? And on top of that, last year he endorsed this Bring Your Bible to School Day, which we shouldn't be doing that. 2, once people started digging in deeper to this organization that he was endorsing, they very quickly, with a quick little Google search, found out that it was extremely homophobic and was anti everything gay rights. And he had the balls to be like, really? I didn't know. You're Drew fucking Brees. You have an agent, a manager, a PR company. You have the works. And
you literally have Google search.
You literally have Google too. And nobody vetted out this. I'm sorry. That's why his apologies are shit to me, because this is exactly who he is in his heart.
Yeah.
And like, you know, Shaq is over here saying, "Oh, it was a mistake. People mistake." That wasn't a mistake. A mistake is like, "Oh man, I got these facts wrong," or whatever. Like, I'm sorry. Like, what I told you was wrong.
Right.
This is his opinion, and that's exactly how he feels. It's not a mistake. It's just a really shitty fucking opinion and very tone deaf, and he needs to fucking read the room right now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Well, but again, like we were saying, like, you know, maybe this is what we need. Like, we don't need, you know, to go 2 more years, 4 more years, 400 more years down the road with a Drew Brees thinking that, you know, he has empathy or that he cares about his teammates. You know, sometimes there's there's actually more respect if you just be like, I'm a dick. I don't care about my Black community. I don't care about my teammates, about my paper. And this is a job. And then I go home and I live
Dolan?
my white life.
He's just
James Dolan.
He's just fake. Every answer is a canned vanilla ass answer. There's nothing like real about it. It's just fake bullshit. And he's just trying to cover his ass because it's probably going to be his final year in the NFL before he retires. And I mean, I hope fucking players come after.
I mean, well, on top of it too, I mean, again, like, Karen, I know you were like kind of saying, no, the onus is on Drew Brees. We shouldn't educate him. And I agree with you. That's powerful. And that is really insightful. And I do agree with that as well. But at the same time, he said these words in a place that he thought was a safe white space for him to say.
Because you're right. Because when he looked around the room,
it was him and two of the white Yahoo dudes. And, you know, and he was like, oh, I'm going to be so awesome right now about not kneeling and the flag and my fam. And look at me. I'm going to be like, so, and it's just like, because he felt safe in what he was going to say. And no one pushed back on him. And no one was there to have a real discussion.
True.
All they wanted was the headline and the clicks. And so I think we need to go deeper into those systems that are allowing these spaces for these people to say what they say. I'm not saying don't have them say that. Okay. Yeah. I'm not saying don't have these conversations. What I'm saying is like, make it educational, because that's what journalism is.
Right.
True.
Right.
It's about making it educational, learning. What did you take away from that you just heard?
Right.
Beyond a headline, a click, and the outrage that you're going to have on Twitter.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of the BLM coverage we see is looters and violence.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. And then, you know, it just gives fuel to the antis to be like, well, you shouldn't be looting and violence is wrong on anyone. Hello, this is why it started, baby, because of police violence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, well, and you have to go to Twitter to find the good stuff.
Right.
You know? Like the peaceful protests, the people dancing in the streets, people playing drums, and, you know, and then you also have to go to find the shitty stuff of police doing brutality out of police brutality.
Yeah, like pulling people behind walls and then ganging up on someone.
Right.
Or pushing 75-year-old men getting suspended, and then all their homies are like, our just suspended officers were mistreated, so we're leaving. What?
Right.
Oh, and then putting out a statement that he tripped and fell.
That he tripped.
Oh, we saw the video. Come on. The gaslighters in this country are insane.
Well, I'm sure.
Right there.
Yeah. And I'm sure, like I said, going back to that black square, which was not, okay, I put a black square up.
So did I. And then I took it down.
I left mine up. I mean, I deleted it and then I put it back up with the correct. So basically because we're in social and, you know, we see these things happen and we're trying to like navigate like how to do it right for our client or how to do it right for our companies or whoever we're consulting with or working at. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff that we're doing, but you know what, at least we are in a position where we're put in those rooms to have those discussions about why you do things. And you know, when you saw them in certain spaces and certain companies that they didn't have a single person of color,
right?
Definitely not anyone black. That was actually going to help them navigate what that meant. So essentially what that black square was supposed to be was for people that were non-black to mute themselves and change their feed, their algorithm to allow Black voices, Malatin voices come into the conversation, and change your timeline to see what would it look like if it was all just Black voices on your timeline. How does that shape how you feel, how you purchase, how you know, just don't just love the culture, but love the people in the culture.
Yes.
And don't and also the way it was co-opted was if people were starting to put hashtag Black Lives Matters on it, therefore it was clogging the information needed for the Black Lives Matters
what was
cause
happening that day
with these Black squares. So right away, you know, a lot of information went out about take the square down or don't do the hashtag, and you know, this is really means. And so what I feel like it was fixed. You know, it was able to proactively be fixed because people got on top of it right away because they've seen these things happen in the past. And you know, so you have that initial like wave of everybody doing this. Then you have like this kind of like, oh shit, we're doing it wrong. So then you fix it or you take it down or whatever. But then it's like all of us, like, then you just keep seeing it happen in certain spaces where you're like, okay, you didn't know what to do to begin with. B, you didn't care to listen when people were saying don't do it or do it this way. And C, you just thought that you could just put up this Black square and then, whew, I did my job, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Part of also of what that meant was that for if you could, you know, on your own platform, share images, share resourcing, share on stories, you know, amplify, you know, use the hashtag amplify Malatin voices, which I'm sure I'm saying it wrong, but you know, that was also what that was about, was like, how do we share our own personal platforms instead of doing like our normal lifestyle necessarily, you know, or even just like promoting ourselves, like how do we help promote that community and share resourcing. So that was another thing you could do. You could go silent. That's totally fine too. You know, whatever anybody felt was correct for them. The whole thing was that, can you take a minute to just stop what you're doing, to stop everything that you're doing to allow for this movement to take its place where it needs to be right now. And for the Black community, continue, like go harder even with what you're talking about. Go harder with your information. Go harder for your resources.
Right.
So I think that's really important because us as social people, we look at these things, and us as being empathetic and us being women and us, you know, two of us being women, people of color, you know, we want to jump in and like do all of these things. And even like we all get caught up on like, oh shit, we just want to like, what can we do the fastest possible? So I think the intention is good. And, you know, however you feel, you should feel and do what you can. Okay. So with that said, when you think about it, backtracking to Drew Brees again, he puts out that Black square. Then immediately goes on Yahoo Finance and decides in this safe white space that he's in to go hard, heavy, and intentional about and you're just like, okay. Then you come out with like a stock image of a black and a white hand holding each other, like the fucking, you know, Rocky sequence at the end. And then you come out with a video, and now you're addressing the president, and it's just like completely falls flat. Then you have all these corporations that are coming out with these statements in that template that we talked about. Okay. And then then you come into Roger Goodell and the NFL and his video about, you know, the NFL condemns racism and the systemic oppression of Black people. We, the NFL, admit we were wrong for not listening to NFL players earlier and encourage all to speak out peacefully and peacefully protest. We, the NFL, believe Black Lives Matter. Hashtag inspire change.
The reason he said that, this is what I read this on Twitter. Okay. So the day before, there was a video that went out from the NFL account that was all the players. Yes. Right? So apparently what happened is the NFL social media team went and did that without the league's permission. Oh. And put it out. And because they were all like, this is bullshit that you guys haven't said anything. Yeah. You know, our league is majority of Black players.
I think it's like 74%.
Yeah, who have all been speaking out on their own platforms. Like, why have we not said anything? So they went out and like kind of did that behind his back. So
good for them.
Yes.
So this is what I read on Twitter. So everything on Twitter is right, you know.
Yes. We know everything for the internet. Yes.
The media is always wrong, fake news, but Twitter is always right.
Yes.
So apparently that happened, and then the next day you get this thing from Roger Goodell. So again, it's one of those, would he have done this had that video not gone out?
No.
And not only that, no mention of Colin Kaepernick, no apology to Colin Kaepernick, nothing.
Yeah, because they were even asking, so when is he going to start again? And they are like, oh, well, he hasn't played and we haven't seen him, so we don't know. And it's like, whatever.
We haven't seen him. Didn't we cover the whole fucking...
Well, one of the things, too, that they, on this NBA on TNT, that they talk about, and this was before the Roger Goodell apology came out, or whatever you want to call it, but that's actually really interesting information about why it even came out. But one of the things was like Charles Barkley was saying like, hey, we didn't give, we had other players that were Black that didn't kneel with Kaepernick, and we didn't give them just as hard of a time. And it's just like, well, I don't really think they need, I think them by the sheer fact that they're Black can understand what it is that he's trying to do, but they have their own feelings about, it's like, if you can make the same allowances to say, well, Drew Brees, you can feel the way that you feel about a flag, then I think you can do that with the same with Black players that have their own feelings for the flag, but that does not dismiss the fact that they're Black and that they understand police brutality and the injustices that happens for being a Black man. So, you know, I love Charles Barkley and I Shaq and all those guys, but I just feel like a goodwill tour right now for Drew Brees by those people in positions of power that are Black men is not needed nor necessary.
But also they're used to being the bigger person because they have to, because everyone wants to weaponize their Blackness or, you know, say, oh, you're so angry, and then completely miss on any kind of message coming from the community. So it's something they're ingrained and used to doing, is defending people and being the bigger person. And it's like,
yeah, well, you're right, because even in the, even in those videos from the players, they were like, first off, we want to let Drew know that he can have the feelings about the flag. And it's like, they're still trying. And he made them have to do those things.
Exactly.
Which he misses the whole point. I don't believe Drew Brees at all. I don't care. You know, I don't even care about his apology. No, I don't care about his apology.
Like, he just be quiet already. Yeah. We already know. The world knows it. Yep. Funny, I like that, funny baloney.
Well, yeah, he is funny baloney. And on top of it, you know what? Do whatever you're gonna do, but don't think that people are gonna not respond.
Right.
Like, what, you think you're going to say what you're going to say and everyone's going to be, and then you just turn off the, turn off the Zoom meeting and you're like, oh, now I'm going to go and have a lemonade on the porch.
Yeah. He hits send on all of his apologies and goes and talks to his
exactly.
flag bullshit too.
Yeah. He uploaded everything on Buffer and was just like, okay, it's scheduled to go out.
He's got the camera right here in a super like right wing type way.
Right.
Yeah. It's just like, whatever, dude, dude, like, you know what? Say what you're going to say, own what you're going to own, and live with the fact that you have what you have. And now, unfortunately, you're going to have to do all of these things that you probably don't want to have to do, like be empathetic and like go to special trainings and have conversations. And it's just like, well, you got yourself a lot of work now.
Empathy. Like, what a wild concept.
Oh yeah, I know. He should just
easy fucking thing that you could be is just an empathetic person, and yet people can't seem to do
so hard for them. Or pull a Kanye, open your wallet and give $2 million to like ACLU or the the NAACP, and then just be quiet.
And then crawl back into your corner.
In your dungeon hole with Kim Kardashian.
Your bunker.
That's the other thing too. Like, no, it's true. Your yurt in Montana. That's the other thing too. It's just like, whatever you're going to do, we already fortunately know what is the truth, because you just you said it. And again, you were allowed to, because you were put in a space where there was nobody there that was going to challenge you, discuss with you, converse with you, and educate. So there's a lot of things to unpack there, and I'm glad we're having these conversations about it. So moving on, because I think we have another big one.
I don't even want to read it.
NBA is back, baby. It is back.
Why am I not excited about this? Besides the fact, of course, well, here's the thing. Yes, the Warriors aren't in, but I'm also excited about that because they're not going to bring Corona back to the Bay Area. That's
baby, even if there wasn't Corona, they weren't going to be in. So
that's a blessing in disguise, though. Listen.
I saw my Clay baby out there
protesting
marching
with my Curry boo. Yes.
Yeah, Clay and Curry. I love Clay because, you guys know. You know.
Carpe diem.
That's right. Seize the day.
He's sliding them DMs. Carpe diem.
Just got to go with the flow. Oh, I love him. So, yes, NBA is back. This is what Woj is saying. He's like, they're inviting 22 teams to Orlando, 13 West Conference teams, 9 Eastern Conference teams.
Oh, wow. Equality now, huh?
Right. 8 regular season games per team, play in for the 8th seed, and then July 31st to October 12th. And then they're going to vote. I guess they're going to vote. So this is what's happening with the owners. They still haven't voted, I guess, on the player side. Like, I'm not sure if any statements been made by their union, the players union. The teams coming back, of course, I mean, in LA, all of LA is coming back. The Nuggets, the Jazz, the Thunder, Rockets, Mavericks, Grizzlies, Trailblazers are in there. The Pelicans.
They didn't want to be in it.
They didn't. Damian Lillard's like, I ain't coming back.
I don't blame him.
The Spurs and the Suns. And then on the East Coast, you got the Bucks, the Raptors, Celtics, Heat, Pacers, 76ers, Nets, Magic, and Wizards. And actually, the Nets just came out and said, sorry.
Oh, you want to get in on that conversation?
Wow, Siri
we have another guest on today's podcast.
Siri is the part of it here. Sorry about that. So basically, what's his name? KD came out and said he wasn't going to come back this season either. So there. And then their target NBA schedule is the training camps will be July 9th through the 11th. And then July 31st to October 12th is when they'll actually play. Then they'll have the draft lottery on August 25th, NBA draft October 15th, free agency October 18th, and then back into training camp November 10th, and then the next season will start December 1st. So, okay, this actually looks like a timeline at like a place where I used to work that was like, oh fuck, Christmas is coming.
Yeah. Let's start planning.
Yeah, I know it's October, but we should really start planning for Christmas. And you're just like, bitch, like Christmas happens all the time. Like,
yeah, it's been.
So I know a lot of people are excited, and we all love the NBA. We all love it.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think this needs to be done.
No. Agreed. We're all
agreed.
Peanut gallery right here, man.
And I honestly think that, I mean, I don't think that I think that we may be in like, we're like some of the few people that are saying like, just scrap it. Because it seemed like when the announcement came out, a lot of people were excited, which is fair. That's fine. Yeah. I mean, whatever. I'm excited, but I think they should scrap it. I think anybody that wins is going to have an asterisk. So if you're okay with an asterisk.
It just seems really like tone deaf too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. With everything that's going on in the world, like, do we really need to have 22 basketball games with an asterisk championship? It just seems super stupid to me.
And how many of those sports fans actually go out and play basketball with strangers right now? Nobody. So, or barely. And then it's like, again, like you said, this is like the owners. If already like Dame and Katie are like, I'm not going, how many of the good players are actually going to go? And what kind of, is this going to be some G League shit or what?
They had that conference call, so all the big were on it, and they wanted to come back and play. It's just, there's so much going on in the world right now.
Yeah.
Where literally all of these protests are happening in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
And you're wanting to like shift the focus from what's happening to your 22 basketball games that are going to be held at fucking Disneyland or whatever. Like, and I know there's people out there who are like, well, the athletes can spread the message at the games, and it's like, well, why? Like, yeah, they can, but also they could just be at home being safe with their families, and other people can be home and safe with their families and doing the same thing.
Right.
Yeah, I know. That was one of the things that I've talked to people about. They're like, well, they're going to have this national stage to maybe use their platform to do that. And it's just like, oh God, can you imagine having to play and knowing that the whole time you're worried about not contracting or giving someone coronavirus, and then when you're done playing the game, they're like, hey, can you just come over to the side and talk to us about the peaceful protests and social injustice and police brutality? I mean, not only is the physical toll going to be there for these players, but also the mental toll. And apparently they're also suggesting that maybe coaches don't need to actually be at the game. And you're like, how again is this devolving? And it's like, how again is this devolving into these players having to be our entertainment and putting their lives at risk for us so that we can end a season that is very much not necessary?
Yeah.
But then also, like, how many freaking injuries are we going to have from this season to next season?
Oh
like,
my God.
They've been sitting at home. Like, I'm sure they've been working out in their home gyms, or I'm sure sneaking out to go to gyms. We've seen that, right?
Yeah.
But, like, you haven't been in full contact basketball mode for months now. And then all of a sudden you just have to, like, jump back in it for a month or two. And then all of a sudden you're right back into your training camp for next season. Like, I
mean, I agree. And I think just looking at this timeline, like, use all that time to decide what is going to be the platform moving forward for, against police brutality, trying to reform the system. Because let's be honest, the NBA's got a lot of systemic shit they need to start trying to think and fix and do. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's not like it's like, oh, it's just the government. It's like all of these systems in place throughout. And NBA sports being one of the bigger ones, as we're seeing with the lack of coverage of by the Black community for a sport that's heavily, has Black people play. Let's be honest. So they could use this time to be building out those plans and unveiling them, and then go. That's fine. Training camp in November, I think, to me, makes more sense. Do the draft. That all can be done remotely. We've seen the virtual drafts already. I don't think the lottery, that's like, doesn't need to, that can be all done remotely. I think, because really, what do? They just pull out a number. Like,
pull out a bingo ball.
Wow.
Fuck, if the California lottery can do that on TV during like weather and, the news.
Yeah, in between.
At 11:58, they're going to give you the Powerball numbers. I think you could do the draft remotely as well in the same vein. So yeah, I just think that there's a better use of time. And to your point, Kendall, about the injuries, like, I can't even imagine. And if I was, beyond like, fine. If we all just want to see an LA season, then just have Lakers and Clippers play. If that's all we care about. At the end of the day, like, if that's
Ron wants that ring, man. He got caught up in The Last Dance and he's like, I gotta get to work.
Yep. If you really want it to be you just want to see Kawhi and LeBron, just have a one-on-one. Whoever went, first person to get to 11 or something, wins it all. I don't know. Like, it doesn't.
Horse.
Exactly. Horse. LeBron and Kawhi horse. I will watch that.
I won't. I'm sorry. I don't give a shit. If it's Michael Jordan and Bron, I'm not watching horse.
But you know what I mean? If that's really like, these 9 players that went in this conference call, what have you, some of them that weren't even going to be in these playoffs, really, let's be honest. Then just have them play. Just have those 9 people that were on the conference call play. Get one more person, in 5-on-5.
There you go.
All-star game.
No subs.
Yeah, just do it. Just go at it. I think there's better ways, and I think there's a better time. And then also Florida. Ugh, like,
gross.
Totally
right?
Gross.
Ooh.
Totally gross. Another thing quickly is just talking about the WNBA. They also have submitted a proposal where they're proposing 22-game regular season starting July 24th. And they will also be playing in Florida. I know a lot of people were talking about maybe they would go to Vegas, but they've decided, I thought that they should go to Florida. I'm like, wherever the NBA is going to be, that's where the WNBA should be. Because if you're already, you don't have to like, you can use each other's resources.
Yes, agreed.
Is my like idea behind that.
Agreed.
And so that is what has been proposed. I think they're still, having to do the voting and then going to the players. So yeah, that's pretty much like the major stuff happening there. Anything else you guys want to hit, or should we go? Because I know we have some quick resources and such we want to talk about.
Hit the resources.
Let's hit the resources. Okay, we're just going to go straight into it. So you can find all of this stuff on, I'll put it out on our episode notes, but I figured we'd also just have some resources to share out as it pertains to a lot of the donations and a lot of the reading materials for the peaceful protests, for bail, like donating money for bail, to educate yourself. Like I said, like we were saying, you don't have to burden the Black community with Google search. Just go and Google search. And you would think after 400 years, there's plenty of material that you can go and find. Okay, and also there are other there is entertainment that may not be like specifically talking about social injustice, but that also like are ways that you can take in the Black culture, the Black community, or learn also that is not so have to be documentary driven. So just think about things like that, like watching a movie like Moonlight or If Beale Street Could Talk, which are both beautiful movies by Barry Jenkins that aren't necessarily like have that particular focus, but by the nature of them existing has social justice and the Black community.
Yeah.
So I just want to say that I have two friends, Otis Roberts and Adriana Marin. They're in New York, and they created Almost Studios, and they took the time, bless their hearts, to create a website which would allow you to download posters, resistance posters,
awesome.
posters that you can use. It beautifully designed. They designed it. And in addition, they've added links for the resources that we were talking about, where you could donate, where you sign petitions, things like that you can share out. And it's a living document, so they'll continue to update it. But it's very well done. They're fantastic designers. Go check them out, Otis Roberts and Adriana Marin. I have it. I put it out on the Hoopstock Instagram. I also put it out on my personal Instagram. So check those out, and we'll also have those links. As far as like, those films I was talking about, Moonlight, If Beale Street Could Talk, there's also a lot of awesome documentaries like Ava DuVernay's has 13. Which is like so that good. Came out a minute ago. And it is so like today. So I would highly recommend that. Is just like superb. And it was also really nice. A lot of these streaming services have made compilations on like the, like a category. Criterion Collection has a lot of really interesting movies made by Black directors, male and female directors. So you can check those out as well. And then as far as books, like for me, I love like Olivia Butler. She writes science fiction, and also
Octavia Butler.
Octavia, thank you.
I love her.
Octavia.
Apocalyptic.
So good. So good. She has
short stories too.
Kindred.
Yep.
As a graphic novel, which is so good. And then why am I blanking on his name? Sorry, James Baldwin. I absolutely love James Baldwin. Please, every book, I like to hear him speak. I actually have a vinyl record of his that I found to play that. But I would say go and check that out. So that's kind of my, and just really quickly too, I have found life on Twitter with all these, I'm following a shit ton of Black journalists, particularly women journalists. And I would say go and talk to them, or go and follow them. There's like Christina Williams, and let me see, I have like,
oh yeah, I love Christina.
Yeah, she's great. Let's see, I can put the list down, but like follow Swin Cash or Roz Gold on Woo Day. Jasmine Baker, who does the We Got Game too. Follow Ari. Maria Taylor. The list goes on and on and on. And what's really great is that they've actually, if you follow these women, they've been tagging each other. So then you have the opportunity to go and find more people that to follow, which is really interesting. So we'll put that in the notes. But that's I can go on and on. So I'm gonna let you girls chime in with a few yourselves.
Well, yeah, no, I just put a couple in our agenda. Like the New Yorker has a great piece on Opal Tometi. She's one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matters and explains why this time is different. And then for allies, 5 things you could do to support the Black community from Berkeley's side. It's just simple stuff. But, I have so many friends who, are just like, what do I do? Like, this is, I'm feeling it, but I don't want to speak and say the wrong thing, but I want to do the right stuff. But I also, you see it too. There's so many people who want to parade their support all of a sudden, and they don't want to do that. So these are ways to really just, walk the talk, right? And get that done. In terms of films, other Ava ones are Selma and When They See Us. Those are other really poignant films. Get Out was so entertaining, but it says so much too about the, just what's going on and an understanding of that from a very entertaining kind of twist. Maya Moore in the WNBA, she's been working on social justice for so long. So that's a voice we definitely suggest if you're not already. Jamel Hill, also another Black woman in sports, and their opinions on how this affects more than just sports. That's someone. Matthew Cherry, he wrote a great book. I follow him a lot, and it's very entertaining, both educational, entertaining. Kamal Bell, he's from the Bay Area in Oakland, so that's another one. And then of course there's Twitter Blackbirds. That's the like the sort of Black ERG for Twitter, but they also have Twitter together. So in addition to Black Twitter in general, which isn't a handle, right? It's a community. It's definitely, to me, Twitter's been my source. And like we all said, Twitter's number one, always correct. But, that's just kind of how I've ingrained myself to just learn and be a listener and be an ally for the Black community.
Amazing. Kendall, do you have any links or?
You guys pretty much stole every single one that I'll just reiterate that 13th is an amazing documentary that I have just recently rewatched.
Nice.
Because of everything that's been going on. So if you haven't watched that one, definitely check it out. It's about the mass incarceration and how basically it's just another form of slavery. Jamel Hill has always been very, very outspoken on Twitter, and I always appreciate her voice.
Yeah.
Matthew Cherry, who just won an Oscar for his story.
I think it was like black hair or something like that. Yeah.
I can't remember the exact name, and I don't want to botch it.
Right.
But yeah, he wrote a book, a short story, and animation, and won an Oscar for that. He's a great one. Just really anybody that, like, even your friends. Like, I've been learning a lot just from my Black friends who have been posting stuff through there. I haven't been reaching out to have, like we've been talking about, to have them sit down and educate me, but anything that they post, I definitely read. You guys basically took all of mine, so you jerk.
Birds of the same feather,
right?
Yeah.
Well, 100% Google search. Okay, that is going to be the number one thing, and a lot, like we were saying, a lot of different streaming service, audio services, podcasts, networks, all the places where you get information normally have been curating lists. Also, people that you do feel like I follow, Ira B. Madison. He is the host, creator.
Oh yeah, Ira.
He has a book list out on Crooked Media under his Keep It. So here's the thing, guys. At the end of the day, there's a lot out there.
Yeah.
You can find it. You can Google search it. You can.
People have already compiled it for you.
Yeah, it's all there. And you know what? I really want to thank the Black community for continuing still to make the list and the PDFs and marching and the resource links, and still trying to be like, hey, you know what? We still have hope in y'all. So we'll continue to, like, you know, as tired as we are, we still want to have hope, and I'm so grateful for that. So that's it, kids. Unless you guys have anything else, I think we did a lot today. It was a big show. Big show. I think, we brought the energy. We had a great guest with Ari. I mean, how could we not start off with that type of energy? It was so amazing. So I think we're ready to wrap. What do you guys think?
Yep.
Let's do it. All right. So we want to remind you before that, we want to thank you actually for listening, for following us on our social handles, where you can Twitter and Instagram at The Hoops Talking. We're also on YouTube. Subscribe. It's going to be a good show. We're on TikTok at The Hoops Talk Podcast. Make sure you do subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen. Review us if you can, if you have the time. And make sure to download the Good News Radio app, because you can get our show at 6:30. If we ever make it back into the studio, then you can chat with us there. But I'm feeling we got a ways to go before we get back. So please just, tell us what you think. Show us some love. DM us, what have you. And Karen, how do we want to keep it, babs?
Sweaty